Well, life isn't that simple. It has nothing to do with either fear or love.
Fear and love are the deepest of human emotions.
But you're not listening to me. There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion. You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
Now, I've been seeing, I know I'm a little late to this, this was a like mid last month trend where they're like adding this audio of people like talking about, of this scene from Donnie Darko where the main character is speaking about how, basically the teacher says, all the fear and love are the most deep comprehension of human emotion, and it's everything, it's like in everything, right? My hair kind of looks gay right now, it's okay, I haven't done it or anything, so. Anyways, do I believe that, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily fear and love, because I think he makes a good point of how there's a huge human spectrum of emotion that isn't being taken into account. I remember I heard this in, not his argument, but the other argument that fear and love are the two main competitors in the human mind. And that, I heard that in rehab, there's this guy, and he said, all of our actions are either out of fear or love. He says, if you do something wrong, then it's out of fear. If you do something right, it's out of love. And I think there's a better way to go about that. I think there are, because I don't think just because you have fear or because you have in general like perceived negative emotion that's necessarily a bad thing. I know I kind of sound like a nerd quoting South Park, but I'm sure you've seen that one episode where Butters is like, well, I'd rather sit by a sidewalk and get wet in the rain than be a faggy goth kid. And I'm like, okay. I think that with human emotion, because he says life is beautiful, and even though you're sad, you'll be happy about it later in the sense that you got to experience that sadness. Now, I think there's a difference between sadness. I think there's a difference between like sadness, fear, anger, and hopelessness. Hopelessness is being stuck in one emotion. I think in that sense, or a hopeless emotional mindset is being stuck in one emotion that you can't get out of. Same as having constant euphoria, which comes in the form of drug addicts. So, what I'm trying to say is, I think you can have like, I guess in a sense, I think there's more complexion to human emotion than everything being out of fear or love. But I do think that there is two polar opposites of the spectrum, though. I think in terms of human morality, and I think there is a universal morality, and I made the argument before that lots of people like to say you can't have morality without religion. I don't think that's at all. I think an atheist has a completely reasonable argument for morality, but I think there is a universal morality. I don't know if I'm fully into the whole scientific side of it, evolutionary-wise, or if I believe there's a more spiritual element to it, but I do know there is at least a universal understanding of morality, or at least an acknowledgement for those who can't experience it firsthand. But in a summary, I do believe there are two polar opposite ends in the human mind, and one is good and one is bad. And I will explain this. I don't think all morality is black and white. I do believe there are gray spots, but I think people need to acknowledge that it does get to a point where you do get to the end of the spectrum. At some point, you do get to the end of the spectrum, and it's either complete black or it is complete white. Either way, there are gray spots. There is shades of gray, but eventually you're going to get to the end of the spectrum. And I think that's something else. Is like, but I think, but what makes people necessarily do wrong things? I think it's less of the emotion of fear, like some people say. I think it's more driven by desire in some way. I think your desire dictates everything, and I think everyone desires at least some of the same stuff in some sense. It's just a matter of how you go about it. But yeah, I'm gonna stop making like really long, like 20-minute videos. It's just a rant video. I might even speed this up, but yeah.